one, action!
All right, welcome everybody. I am so excited about today, and we appreciate you all coming in here to help us out, learn a couple new features on Zoom, as well as just hang out and I'm just going to have a little presentation and concert here while we're at it. And I get to play on one of my all-time favorite instruments. I love this one. I'm so excited. Robert told me beforehand, hey, maybe you could play on that Imperial you have there. And I was like, ooh, I would love to. That sounds great. Because it's very, very comfortable. I'll tell you why in a minute. But let's start out with some music here. I've got some things picked out that I'd like to play. We have a lot of new signature styles on this instrument, so I'm going to go through some of those. So this one's in the big band button, and right when I press that, a new style comes up called Satin Lady. And that is for the song Satin Doll. So I'm going to go ahead and play Satin Doll. Here we go. Oh, I just realized I can even show you from this angle. Ooh, even better. Look at that. Here we go. Intro. Love that tune. That is made famous by Duke Ellington. If you listen to the recording, it sounds pretty much exactly like that, except he didn't hit any wrong notes, so that's even better. Uh, but what's so fun, one of the reasons I'm excited to play on this particular instrument today, you know, we like to showcase all of our instruments at different times, and there are some that are, you know, comfortable to play, and some that I have to think, okay, how does this one work again? You know, but what's so great about the Imperial is you sit down, it's like getting in your jammies at night, you know. I get to sit down in this comfortable bench. Oh, you can't even see it from where you're at. Let me do this here and kind of show you a little bit. This is what I'm sitting on right now. I don't know if you can see that. Is that showing on the screen? Cool. That is cozy. You can see it's got a backrest on it over here, and nice and wide. And there are these little, I guess you can say, little holes in the back all over. Does anybody know what in the world those are? Those are speakers. If I go down here, let me see if that pulls up. Yeah, so in this bench, this cozy, cozy bench with a backrest here, I've not only do I have a backrest to kind of lounge about, I also have speakers built into it, which kind of creates this really cool surround sound feel. So yeah, you can't quite see it, but this back here, I can kind of lean up against, take a nap when I'm done playing, and not only that, it sounds awesome. Because what's really cool is the sound is coming out behind me as well as in front of me, and it sounds like I'm actually inside uh, an orchestra pit, you know? Like when you're conducting an orchestra, I know you all conduct orchestras, right? You've got something like this here. What's great about this one is it feels like the sound is like surround sound. I should say, you know. So that's what it's called, symphonic sound system for surround sound. And you've got little things you can turn it on and off if you want to. Uh, but it's pretty darn cool. So I'm going to move on and show a couple more rhythm styles I like a lot that they've added to this. One thing that's really fun is they add every type of music to this instrument. You've got things from, I think that was during the 50s, jazz music in the 50s. And now we're going to go to the 60s here for a moment and play with one of the biggest bands of the time, the Beach Boys. You might have heard of them. They were pretty popular for a bit there. But there's a new rhythm called Classic Beach. So I'm going to pull that up on my screen, and away we go. Here are the Beach Boys, and we're going to bring out some California girls here. Thank you, thank you. That is so fun to play with that rhythm. I did something in there. I don't know if you could see it from that view that you had, but what's really cool about almost every new rhythm in here is they got really smart with uh, kind of having different variations of that particular rhythm. So when I was playing with the Beach Boys there, I had my regular old style, but you have a button on here called Alter Style, which I think some of you might be familiar with. But what's great is almost every signature arrangement that you might want to play starts out simple, and when you hit the Alter Style button, it changes to the other part or other section of that song, so it sounds completely smooth and just like the record. So I went from without, and then I turned on Alter Style, for the chorus part of the song. So really fun to do, and it just makes it sound like the record. It's really cool. I get to play with the Beach Boys. Isn't that exciting? You don't get to do that often. One thing I want to point out as I'm playing is, I don't know if some of you might have something like this where it has kind of a big screen, a wide screen. Does anybody have those? Let me just tell you what it's doing while I'm at it here. Most of you, if you have a touch screen, you have a nice little square in the middle. What this does is it doubles that, so I have two separate touch screens. So what'll happen is when I touch these rhythm buttons over here, like for the classic beach style that I just used, I touch a button called Classic. And I don't have to touch anything else. There's no variations button on here. Uh-oh. It's okay, because right when I touch Classic, all of them just pop up on the right side of my screen. So let me actually see if I have something like this. Let me go back up a little bit. It looks like this. Can you see that on the screen? So when I touch a rhythm, it actually keeps this left side of the screen as is. So it gives you all the information you're used to seeing, the chord you're playing, the tempo. But on the right side of the screen, all your different rhythms come up. And what I like to know, sometimes people talk about this, sometimes they don't. If anyone were to ever get an instrument like this, what's really nice is that every time you go to one of these style buttons, all the new rhythms are in the exact same spot. So if you have something like a Prestige, what's really cool is they just added this one spot in your rhythm choices here. And that same location for every type of music is always going to be a new rhythm. So hopefully that makes sense. But it's just kind of fun to sit down and go, ooh, what kind of new stuff did they put in here? So that's one improvement to the screen. They basically made 2 touch screens. And this is really cool. Not a lot of people talk about this, but let me show this again. Can you see that on the screen? Does it say My Settings? Okay, this is the screen that comes up naturally right when I turn on the instrument. It says My Settings 1 and 2. This is so cool. One of my favorite things about this, because if you are used to a certain style of playing or a certain sound that you like, or I even have some students that are piano players, and they say, oh, I wish I could just get it to be a piano every time I turn it on because I love the piano. Well, you can do that with this. That's what that My Settings 1 and 2 is. You can put whatever you want in there. It's just like a preset. So I can save a whole piano sound into one of those, and then maybe if I'm in the organ mood, I can put an organ in the other. And it's just like, I like to tell people when they have those, car keys that you plug into the car, and then it kind of adjusts the seat back, for the husband, and you put it in the wife puts hers in, and it, scoots it forward. It's kind of like that. It's like personalizing the instrument the way you want it. So I love that. I like to set up a piano on it and just save it in there. It's a great idea if you like piano. So super helpful screen. So let's play some more music here. I'm going to play one of my favorite styles of music. And if you've ever been to Arizona, it's pretty much a requirement that you like this type of music. And it's called country music. Okay? And I remember going out there and playing for you folks in the villages. I think that's where most of you here are from. And I got to say, you are a kooky bunch. Very memorable indeed. Every time I've been there, I always have a story afterwards. So you're a fun bunch. And I think when I was there last, I said, who likes country music? And everybody raised their hand. So let's play a new country rhythm that they built into this. And the rhythm is called, when I touch country, I believe 2, country 2, it gives me a new style called Ring of Cash. You can kind of guess what that might be made for. It's made for Ring of Fire by Mr. Johnny Cash. So let's play Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. Might as well, right? And you'll notice that about halfway through the song, I'm going to hit that alter style again over here. And it's going to give me an alternate version of that rhythm. So it's going to be perfect for the chorus. So here we go. Thank you. All right. A couple things about that you might have noticed is you heard those trumpets in the background. I was doing that, but I wasn't playing the notes. I was using my kick switch, my fill switch on the right side of my right foot. Just kicking over to the right, and then those trumpet players just play that part on their own. Another thing, obviously, if you've got touch bars down here, you can use the left touch bar, and it'll do that effect. So it's part of the song. So when I'm playing my chord, I use the fill. Whoops. And those trumpet players just come out and play the part for me. So, great tool. This is also another rhythm that you can kind of use for most anything you want. And it'll work really well. Any Johnny Cash song, actually. He's got a lot of similar sounding tunes, so you could play a lot of his stuff with that, and it sounds just fantastic. So, obviously, one thing a lot of people like to do, I taught a class on this the other day. You may have been there, but you like to save your work sometimes, right? I'm just going to assume you're all saying yes. So when you come up with something you do like, you know, if I like those settings for Ring of Fire so much and I want to save it, you have what are called bank presets over here that you can save anything you want in there. Now, what happens, what a lot of people, especially in the class that I taught the other day, they kept saying, well, what happens when you save over? What's in there? I like those sounds because there are already sounds built in, right? For example, your A bank here is all beautiful Lowrey organ sounds. And the B bank, Hammond organ sounds, really cool stuff in there. But what happens is when you save your work, it saves over what's already in there. Wouldn't that be nice if they found a solution to where you don't lose those sounds you like? Well, good news. They did come up with a solution. And I love this. I use these a lot. You have category presets on this right side here. Some of you might use those. Some of you maybe not as much. But what's great in that More button, so I've got all these different categories, and the More button brings up more on the screen, more categories. And what they did, which is super smart, is they put in, let me see if I can pull this up as well so you can see it. It's just kind of hard when you're not right in front of the instrument here. That's not it. Well, ding darn it. That's all right. But some of the categories that they put in here are your banks, the original sounds. So they're taking what's already in here and adding it to the categories as well. When you press these banks over here, you can save into them now, and it's okay. You've got them back over here. So they put it in 2 locations, which I think is great. Because then you can go to your D bank, for example, and there's nothing lost. I can play my lovely orchestral, symphonic type sounds. So I got my violin, you know. I don't know why I played that song. It just popped into my head right now. I think that's Minnie Riperton. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, so what's really nice is I have those sounds backed up into here. So no matter what I save in here, I don't lose any of them. So I got my favorite sounds. Anyway, I get too excited. I'm going to move on. Let's go back to the 60s. Let's do some rock and roll here. There's a fun song that I found in this book here called Louie Louie. And there's actually a rhythm built into these here in, you guessed it, rock and roll, called 60s Shindig. And I can tell a lot of you folks from the villages were into some shindigs at the time. I know some of you might have mentioned that there too. So we're going to go to a 60s shindig where you might hear a song like Louie Louie. And then actually I'm going to show you kind of how you can use these rhythms to sort of play anything you want as well. So let's start with Louie Louie here. I'm going to use the intro for that song.
1, 2,
3.
I should turn off my violin from the other song I was playing. Let's go back to Louie Louie here. Here we go. Now let's show you kind of how you can play anything with that. So I'm going to play a totally different song with my 60s shindig. Thank you. Does anybody know the name of that song? I just kind of pulled out of my head as well. It's called Sugar, Sugar. Sugar, Sugar, Honey, Honey. Just another classic 60s tune. That's what's kind of fun. If I pick almost any song from the 1960s, it works with that rhythm. I've done medleys with that rhythm where I just put it on and I just play whatever pops into my head and it just plain works. So one thing you notice is as I was playing, I kind of kept leaning back on this backrest because it's almost too comfortable. Your husband or wife, after you're playing, they're going to find you going like this, asleep at the wheel there, because it's just comfy. So, and as you probably can't tell, but let me switch cameras here. I've actually got one down on the floor. Look at this. You've got this really, really nice pedal board that actually extends from the speakers here to the bench. And as you can tell, I'm pressing these down, and there's no sound because I can turn it off. There's a button to turn off the pedals. So if I have it on, you could probably hear that, but I like to turn them off, and then you can basically step on these, walk on them, and they won't affect a thing. It's not bad for it. I'm standing right now. You can't quite tell, but then I sit back down. Or what's nice, if you're like me and 3 feet tall, your feet can just hover right over it. You don't have to touch any of those pedals if you don't want to. So just a couple nice features on those pedals. And what I like to do as well is sometimes, if I'm playing a song, you might have seen this in some of the classes where we put some of the features onto the pedals. You can make that do the fill-ins. You can make it do glides, things like that. And it's really easy on this pedal board to just kind of tap your foot down. And you don't have to worry about it. There's a pedal below you no matter what. You don't have to find it. So, and like I said, if you're like me, your feet are just hanging there dangling anyway. So. But anyway, let's go from, we just did 60s. What else we got in here? We got 70s in here too. And I know Dawn's a big fan of the 1970s music, so this is for her. I'm going to go to a button called Contempo, short for contemporary. And there's a rhythm called Queen of Dancing. You can kind of guess what this one's for as well. I'm going to play like the dancing queen that I am and play a song by, does anybody know who did the song Dancing Queen? ABBA. I'll tell you, it's ABBA, which was a fun disco-type group. So here we go. We're going to play Dancing Queen. This is a really fun song to play. You can imagine roller skating to this. Dancing Queen. That's a really fun song to play. I could probably play that on repeat and keep you here all day. Just a fun tune to play. So, as I said, lots and lots of wonderful, great features in this instrument. One of my all-time favorites to play because, like I said, it's just cozy. I can sit down and play for hours without issue. And right before, I've got maybe just a couple more tunes. Let's do, we did the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and now I'm going to go all the way back to the I think this came out in the late 30s, early 40s, maybe. This is called Begin the Beguine. It was originally by a guy named Artie Shaw, but what's really cool and kind of brilliant is, if you've heard of the name Bill Curry, he designed a lot of these rhythm styles that are built into here. And he actually took the original introduction, not from the Artie Shaw rendition, but the Benny Goodman rendition that came after that. So you got the best of both worlds. It's really cool. So when I do the intro, you're going to hear Benny Goodman's clarinet. And when I play my right hand here, you're going to hear Benny Goodman's clarinet. Really cool. So listen to the background. It really fills in perfectly on this song. So. Yeah, perfect sounding instruments in that. I love that song. There's a whole section in the middle where it goes to a minor key that if I pulled the music out, which I have in front of me, I would have played it, but I didn't do that, so I skipped it. So it's just nice to play some songettes once in a while, just the shorter versions, because then you can play through it and go on to the next one. So the last thing I'm going to mention, one of a really, really cool feature that they added to this that you may use, you may not, but I love to experiment with it. That's the most fun part of it. They have a button here right next to your rhythm preset button. Okay? Some of you might have this, some of you might not, but they added a button called Organ Rhythm Presets. And on this particular instrument, what they do when you touch Organ Rhythm Preset, it takes those normal sounds that you have in these buttons here, and it tosses them aside, puts in organ sounds to go with your rhythm here. So if I do something that maybe you've heard before, like swing band, where it's got the Glenn Miller type sound, if I do that introduction on our normal rhythm presets, it sounds normal, like this. Just like that. If I touch organ rhythm preset, it actually takes the whole background. This is what's really cool. It takes the whole background, all those woodwinds and brass instruments, and it turns everybody into an organ. So here's that same introduction, but with the organ preset button on. Cool. So you got really cool sounds, and you can play around with this. It's really fun to experiment with. and come up with different rhythms that might sound kind of neat to have organ in the background. You know, like the one I just played, Smooth Foxtrot is what it's called, where I played Benny Goodman there. And when I do that rhythm, turn everything into organs. And it even gives you an organ sound to play with. So it's just fun to experiment. It's kind of a small thing that I just really like to enjoy. But lastly, I'm going to play one more song here and close out. I can't stress enough how much fun this is to play. If you've never played on one, you can visit the store, and I'm sure Don will let you. Right? Yeah. So one more song here. I play this at concerts all the time, and this is the instrument this rhythm came out on. One of my favorite all-time rhythms, any instrument. It's called Hit the Road. But like we said, we're going to try a little experiment afterward with the breakout room type thing. So don't hit the road yet, but after that we can hit the road jack. So let me change back to this guy here so you can see the buttons and the fingers. And here is Hit the Road Jack. Thank you. And that was Hit the Road Jack by Ray Charles. So really good tune and really fun to play. So is Robert there? Do we have any announcements you want to make? I don't know if he's even.
Yep, I'm
There
here.
he is.
Hi.
Another
Is it
thing
still recording?
I didn't even mention earlier, like since I've been sitting here, uh, what I forgot to mention is they actually put the bass running through this chair as well, this bench here. So when you're playing something bassy like that rhythm I was just playing, you're feeling it. So it's really
Oh,
fun. Yeah, it's
feeling the
like
bass.
having
I have
a.
my mask on because I have some gentlemen here
That's okay.
redoing our store. You can pause the recording now, though, if you like.